Page 76 asks you to find the area of rectangles with the following dimensions. Explain your thinking using the area model. I don't need you to use the area model, so we can skip this part. I just want you guys to make sure you understand how to multiply fractions together. So I have 2 and 1/4 times 1/4. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. I have 9/4 times 1/4, so I get 9/16. I can't divide this any further than what it is, so I'm going to leave it as 9/16 inches squared. Not inches, actually. This is yards. Yards squared. Gotta be careful with that one. Okay, the next one. This one is feet. So 2 and 1/2 feet times 1 and 1/4 feet. 2 times 2 is 4. Oh, let me just write it down. 2 and 1/2 times 1 and 1/4. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 plus 1 is 5. I have 2 halves times 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, 5/4. So I have 25, because 5 times 5 is 25, and 2 times 4 is equal to 8. I'm going to divide so you guys can see that. I have 25 divided by 8. 8 goes into 25 3 times. 5 minus 4 is equal to 1. And my remainder is going to be 8. I have 3 and 1/8. Feet squared. Now I'm going to move on to the next problem. It is a word problem. It says right here, Kelly buys a tarp to cover the area under her tent. The tent is 4 feet wide and has an area of 31 square feet. The tarp she bought is 5 1/3 feet by 5 3/4 feet. Can the tarp cover the area under Kelly's tent? Draw a model to show your thinking. So I can draw out the model for you guys can see what that looks like. Okay. So I know that one side is 5 1/3, and it tells me right here, 5 1/3. And on the other side, we have 5 3/4. Okay. And now they want to multiply those dimensions together to see if it is 31 square feet. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply these two numbers together. I have 5 1/3 times 5 3/4. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16. I get 16/3. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 3 is 23. I get 23/4. Now, I'm going to multiply those two numbers together to get my answer. So 16 times 23. 6 times 3 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Bring down my 0. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So I add everything together, and I'm going to get 368. 368, and I'm dividing that by 3 times 4 is 12. So I'm not quite done because I know 12 can go into 368 times. I just need to figure out how many times can 12 go into 368. So I'm going to draw and make sure I write it down correctly for you guys to see. I have 368 divided by 12. Okay, so I need to figure out how many times does 12 go into 36, and that's going to be 3 times. 12 times 3 is going to give you 36. I subtract. 36 minus 36 is 0. I bring down my 8. 12 cannot go into 8, but I still need to make sure I multiply a number, so I know that 12 doesn't go into 8. So 12 times 0 is going to give you 0. 8 minus 0 is 8. My remainder is 8, and my denominator is 12. And it looks right because 8 as my remainder is smaller than 12, so that's fine. If my remainder is bigger than my number on the outside, which is my divisor, then you're wrong. You need to try it again. You need to check what you did wrong. Maybe you can divide more. So my final answer is 30 and 8/12. But I'm not quite done yet. I can actually divide the top and the bottom number by 4 to simplify it. So my final answer is actually going to be 30 and 2/3. Oh, I almost forgot my units. Feet squared. So it says right here, is the tarp big enough? Okay. So looking at this, the tarp is not going to be big enough. The tarp is not big enough. So I'm going to write that down. The tarp is not big enough. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to problem 4. Problem 4 says Shannon and Leslie want to carpet a 16½ feet by 16½ feet square room. They cannot put carpet under an entertainment system that juts out. See the drawing below. This is the drawing. In square feet, what is the area of the space with no carpet? So I'm measuring this measurement right here. So I'm going to draw lines for you guys to see. That's what I am figuring out right now. What is the area where there can be no carpet? So I'm going to multiply these two numbers, 2½ and 2½ to figure out how much area there is that has no carpet. So remember, area is equal to width times length, or you can say base times height. It's up to you. So I'm going to use width times length. So 2½ times 2½ 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 plus 1 is 5. I get 5 halves times 5 halves. 5 times 5 is 25, and 2 times 2 is equal to 4. So now I'm going to divide. I have 25 divided by 4. 4 can go into 25 6 times. 25 minus 24 is equal to 1. My remainder is 1, and my denominator is 4. So 6 1/4. Feet squared. That is the measurement for the entertainment system. Now, I need to figure out for problem B, how many square feet of carpet will Shannon and Leslie need to buy? So I need to figure out how much carpet will they need to buy. And to figure that out, I'm going to be multiplying 16½ times 16½ and then subtracting 6 1/4 in order to get my answer. So I'm going to multiply 16½ times 16½ 16 times 2. Always want to show my work so you guys can see where these numbers are coming from. So 16 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 32. And then I'm adding the 1 right here, which gives me 33. So I have 33 halves times 33 halves. The reason why is 16½ is the same as 16½. So the mixed number is also going to be the same. Now I'm going to multiply 33 times 33. I'm looking for room on my notebook. Okay. 33 times 33. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. Bring down my 0 because I'm multiplying in my tens place. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. Add everything together. 9 plus 0 is 9. 9 plus 9 is 18. And 9 plus 1 is 10. I get 1,089. 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Now I'm going to divide that number. 1,089 divided by 4. 4 goes into 10 2 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 10 minus 8 is equal to 2. Bring down my 8. 4 times 7 is equal to 28. I subtract. Bring down my 9. 4 times 2 is equal to 8. 9 minus 8 is equal to 1. So my denominator is going to be 4 and my numerator is 1. So I get 272 1/4 feet squared. that is not my final answer because I need to subtract the little piece of carpet that is not there, right? So I'm going to do that. 272. I'm going to keep it the same color so you guys can kind of see that better. 272 and 1/4 minus 6 and 1/4. When I subtract 1/4 and 1/4, I'm going to get 0. So I can cross that off. So 272 minus 6 is going to give me 266 feet square of carpet. And that is my final answer.